Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter, what is it? 3. Text 4 and 5. We'll start with text 4. Is that what's written? Text 4? Huh? Kakudmino vida naso damitva Svayamvare nagnajitim uvaha Tad bhagnamanam api gridyato Jagne chata shastra vritas vashastrai Kokudmino vida naso damitva Svayamvare nagnajitim uvaha Tad bhagnamanam api gridyato Jagne chata shastra vritas vashastrai Kakudmina bulls Avidanasa whose noses were not pierced Tamitva subduing Svayamvare in the open competition to select the bridegroom Nagnajitim, Princess Nagnijiti, Udvaha, married, Tat Bhagnamanam. In that way, all who were disappointed, Api, even though, Gridyata, wanted, Agyan, the fools, Jagne, killed and wounded, Akshata, without being wounded, Shashtrapita, equipped with all weapons, Spashastrai, by his own weapons. Translation: by subduing 7 bulls whose noses were not pierced, the Lord achieved the hand of Princess Nagnijiti in the open competition to select her bridegroom. Although the Lord was victorious, his competitors asked the hand of the princess, and thus there was a fight. Well equipped with weapons, the Lord killed or wounded all of them, but he himself was not hurt. We'll read the next verse and we'll come back to this one. Priyam Prabhu Gramya Iva Priyaya Viditsu Archad Dutarum Yadarte Vajyadravattam Sagano Urusanda Kridamriyo Nunam Mayam Vidunam. Translation: just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back the Parijata tree from heaven, just as an ordinary husband would do. But Indra, the king of heaven, induced by his wives, henpecked as he was, ran after the Lord with full force to fight him. Purport: the Lord once went to the heavenly planet to present an earring to Aditi, the mother of the demigods, and his wife Satyabhama also went with him. There is a special flowering tree called the Parijata, which grows only in the heavenly planets, and Satyabhama wanted this tree. Just to please his wife, like an ordinary husband, the Lord brought back the tree, and this enraged Vajri, or the controller of the thunderbolt. Indra's wives inspired him to run after the Lord to fight, and Indra, because he was a henpecked husband and also a fool, listened to them and dared to fight with Krishna. He was a fool on this occasion because he forgot that everything belongs to the Lord. There was no fault on the part of the Lord, even though he took away the tree from the heavenly kingdom, but because Indra was henpecked, dominated by his beautiful wives like Sachi, he became a fool, just as all persons who are dominated by their wives are generally foolish. Indra thought that Krishna was a henpecked husband, who only by the will of his wife Satyabhama took away the property of heaven, and therefore he thought that Krishna could be punished. He forgot that the Lord is the proprietor of everything and cannot be henpecked. The Lord is fully independent, and by his will only, he can have hundreds and thousands of wives like Satyabhama. He was not therefore attached to Satyabhama because she was a beautiful wife, but he was pleased with her devotional service, and thus wanted to reciprocate the unalloyed devotion of his devotee. So, in one chapter of the Krishna book, there's a chapter that's called Wonderful Krishna. Krishna has so many incredible qualities over and above all other incarnations. Venu Madhurya, for example, he plays wonderful flute that surpasses very, very miraculous effects from Krishna's flute playing. Rupa Madhurya, the form of the Lord is so beautiful, unparalleled. And Leela Madhurya, the pastimes. Prema Madhurya, the love he has for his devotees and devotees have for him. So Leela Madhurya, the unlimited pastimes of Krishna are something very, very amazing. And we have many incarnations and they perform wonderful pastimes. You know, Lord Varaha comes, Lord Matsya comes, Lord Nrsimha comes, and they perform wondrous pastimes. Lord Ram comes and performs even more wondrous pastimes, even more than Lord Varaha, Lord Matsya, Lord Kurma, and so on. And Krishna comes, his pastimes are so excellent, especially Rasa Leela pastime. He's dancing with the gopis, he's dancing with Radharani, but so many other pastimes in his especially the childhood pastimes, but then later on, and we're reading about the pastimes when Krishna now has gone from Vrindavan to Mathura, from Mathura, he's in Dwarka. So Krishna performs pastimes in all these holy places, these dhams, Vrindavan Dham, Mathura Dham, Dwarka Dham, unlimited, just unlimited, wonderful pastimes. This is the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so they are going on eternally in the spiritual realm, but when he comes to this world, he also displays a numerous, practically unlimited pastimes. Some of them involve asuras, Naimitika. These are called Naimitika Leela, where occasionally he has to deal with some asura that's causing trouble. And mostly these asuras are his devotees who have taken the form to challenge the Lord. And so they're leelas. But nevertheless, you don't find the asuras there in the spiritual world. They're here in this material world, and they're not Nitya Leela, it's called Naimitika Leela. Occasional pastimes with the asuras, but of course when you read the stories, especially in Krishna's childhood, they seem to happen quite regularly. These asuras turn up. You know, Prabhupada once said, yes, a few times a day some asuras would turn up and disturb the devotees and disturb Krishna and so on and so forth. So Krishna had to deal with them. Anyway, here we're reading about Nagnajiti, otherwise known as Princess Satya. Now, Nagnajit was father, King Nagnajit, and he's from Ayodhya, the Koshala king. So he is from Ayodhya. Many of you have probably been to Ayodhya a few times there. That's the birthplace of Lord Ram. So he was a Koshala king in the dynasty of Lord Ram. This king had a beautiful daughter, Princess Nagnajiti. She was called Nagnajiti, being the daughter of Nagnajit. She was otherwise known as Satya. And we learned that Krishna had so many queens. He had 8 principal queens. Rukmini, Satyabhama, we'll read about Satyabhama, Mitravindra, Lakshmana, Bhadra, and here we're reading about Satya. Satya, she was now the king, of course, was very anxious to have his daughter married to a very suitable husband. And this was, of course, they were Kshatriyas, they were warriors. And so quite often they would set conditions for any suitor who would come, any prince who would come to, ask for the hand of the daughter. And so in this case, of course, it's mentioned in the 10th canto and in other Puranas that the king of Koshala, Nagnajit, actually wanted Krishna to marry his daughter. And Satya had heard about Krishna, and she actually wanted to marry Krishna. And so, and then when Krishna came, when she saw him, there was no question of it. She heard about it, but when she saw him, she was just totally smitten. She has to have Krishna. Right? So, but the king of Koshala wanted Krishna, and he specifically set this test, a real hard test. And there's an amazing description of these bulls. They weren't just ordinary bulls. We've got a lot of bullocks, and you've seen them around here. They're huge, they're gigantic, with huge horns, right? Huge horns. I don't know, have we still got a bull? 4 bulls. Where are they? Oh, they're over that side. That's why you never see them. Okay. So there used to be just 1 bull. Anyway, there's 4 bulls, and you keep them over this side. So bulls, another level again. And so these were bulls. So this was the test that anyone who wanted to marry Princess Satya, any warrior, any prince who came, he had to have all the qualifications, and of course she had to choose him, but at the same time he had to subdue these bulls. Now these weren't now, it's specifically mentioned here that their noses weren't pierced yet. So that means that generally the nose on the bull is very tender and very sensitive. I always remember at our farm this was at Gordadesh, right? We had a farm before New Nandagram down in Victoria. We had this huge farm at Gordadesh, which was 26,000 acres worth of land. 26,000 acres. So we'd go out there. It was between Adelaide and Melbourne, actually in the middle, but near Mildura, near Renmark actually, and just between Renmark and Mildura, about halfway. It was about 80 kilometres between Renmark and Mildura, and we actually own outright 10,000 acres, and we leasehold another 16,000 because it had the river frontage, had the Murray River frontage. So 26,000, it was huge. And there we farmed the rock melon and all the watermelon, and a lot of things were going on there. We had some cows and bullocks, and we had a bull called Nandi, and he was huge. And I remember a little Adi Purush, Mahapurush. Some of you may know Mahapurush is up in Brisbane. He's originally from Malaysia. He's not a big guy, he's a kind of small guy. And so he was in there, and he had to take the bull Nandi. This bull Nandi was gigantic. We used to throw him rock melons, and he would just open his mouth and eat the whole rock melon in one go. It was huge. So because they grow a lot of rock melons, a lot of those rock melons they take to the markets, but a lot of them were left over, so we used to feed them. And watermelons, and we throw whole watermelons. He loved them. He loved the rock melons, and we had honeydew melons. That was the favourite. Honeydew melons we used to throw to the bull. The watermelons he couldn't quite fit in, so he used to just chomp them through, and they go all over. Half was there, and half would be in his mouth. And we used to throw them. So then he had to move the bull from one paddock to the other. But this was a huge bull, even at the shoulders would be higher than me. So little Mahapurush goes in there, and he's got a ring, in his nose. So he's got he goes in there, and he had to, and he was a little aggressive. So you had to go in there just at the right time when he was in a more placid mood. So he went in there, and so he grabbed him. He didn't have a rope he had a ring, but he didn't have a rope. So then he had to move. So he thought that he would just take him by the ring and lead him into the other paddock. So then he took him, and he was walking. And so that pressure on the bull's nose, because they're very sensitive, so he was just following. But then Nandi worked out, and I was watching all this from the fence line. But Nandi worked out that if he walked a bit faster, there would be less pressure on his nose. So then Nandi was walking faster, so then Adi Purush had to compensate and walk faster himself to keep the pressure on the nose. So then Nandi would counter that with walking a little bit faster still, because the bulls can go fast. So then in the end I was watching. So Adi Purush had to end up running because Nandi had sped up so much in the process that he had to run, and he barely got him into the other paddock and locked the gate. He had to jump back out really quick. So that was Nandi, a huge bull. But these bulls are described here. These were 7 sharp-horned bulls. Sharp-horned bulls, huge. These bulls were extremely vicious and uncontrollable. And they could not tolerate even the smell of warriors. They just knew the smell of a warrior, and a warrior came there, and these are the bulls that King Nandajit, he picked those bulls. So they would have, now I'm not quite sure whether the princes who came had to pass this test of subduing the bulls. They had to, tie them, and then later on they would have the ring put in the nose. So I don't know, I'm not sure whether they had to do the 7 on them all at once, or one by one. One by one would be tough enough, but imagine if you... Now I've read that in some places indicate they actually had to do all the 7, but then, or maybe it was one by one. But anyway, so this was a test, and actually when Krishna had heard about Princess Satya, and he heard about he wanted to go there. So he came all the way from Dwarka. That's a long way from Dwarka over to Ayodhya, which is in the middle of the north of India. So he came all the way, accompanied by a whole retinue of army and everything like that. And he came in and he asked for the hand. And then, of course, everyone, as I said, Princess Satya was overjoyed and Nagnajit was overjoyed. But he said, it won't be fair. We've made this test, and so others have come. Unfortunately, they've been defeated by the bulls, and many of them are seriously injured, with limbs broken and so on and so forth, and faces gnashed up and so on. No, all were defeated, but we have set this test, so you're going to have to pass this test. So Krishna just didn't even say anything, and he just tightened his clothes, and he went out immediately. But what did he do? He expanded himself 7 times, and so he subdued these bulls simultaneously in 7 forms. Now the Acharyas explained that everyone was watching. Nagnajit came there, Satya came there, everyone came there, and so the Acharyas explained he wanted to also, besides subduing the bulls, he wanted to show that Krishna was already married, had other wives. And he wanted to show her she won't miss out on his attention, because look here, I'm expanding myself 7 times, so you can have me all to yourself, because I'll expand myself. So the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in that way that he expanded himself also for another reason. So, but very quickly he subdued the bulls, he tied them all up, and he just played with them like a boy plays with a toy, and he just led them all around. Everywhere like that. So, in this way, he was able to gain the hand of Princess Satya, Nagnajiti, and there was a big celebration for a few days, and then they headed back. The king gave a huge dowry, and Krishna, accompanied by Princess Satya, headed back to Dwarka. Krishna gave her a beautiful big palace. There he expanded his to be with her all the time. But on the way, the other princes who were taken and were defeated by the bulls had heard this, that Krishna had subdued the bulls, and they thought that there was he must have done some trick. He cheated. He had someone go in there and drug the bulls, and so they'd be very pacified. Otherwise, how could he have done it? We went there, they were trying to be haughty princes and, puffed up. We couldn't do it. My leg was broken, my arm was broken. So he must have cheated. He cheated. That's what some of them worked out. That's what he did. He sent someone in, they drugged them, and they were all peaceful and all doped up, and then he just went in there and tied them up. And that's how we did it. So they were enraged. And they sped over there, wherever they came from, and they confronted Krishna on the road, and with their armies and everything like that. They were going to this rascal, this cheat, how dare he humiliate us and also cheat and take this princess in a fraudulent way. We're going to teach him a lesson, we're going to come. And so they were dead serious. They came with all weapons. And here it's mentioned in this verse that Krishna himself took care of them, but later on the 10th canto it's mentioned more specifically that Arjuna had accompanied Krishna there, and he was the main one who drove back these princes back, who had come to attack Krishna, even kill Krishna. Of course, who could kill Krishna? But anyway, and Krishna could have done the whole thing himself. But later on the 10th canto, it's mentioned that Arjuna did most of the, sending the princes back and covering the whole thing. So this is the story of a wonderful story, and you can read this in 10th canto. It's or how Krishna married. Krishna had 8 principal queens, and then of course we know. And the next verse after this tells the story of Bhaumasura, and how Krishna saved the princesses that were kept in a dungeon by Bhaumasura, and so there were 16,100 princesses that Krishna married them all, because society was in those days that once they'd been in that kept like that, no prince or anyone would want to marry them. So Krishna married all of them and gave them all a palace each. And he expanded himself to be with every one of them. So that's in the next verse about Bhaumasura. But it ties into this Priyam Prabhu Gramya Iva Priya, how to please his wife Satyabhama, he went to heaven, because Bhaumasura, a great asura, he was terrorizing everywhere. Now, interesting story. I'll let the one who was giving the next verse, but Bhaumasura was born from when Lord Varaha came and lifted the earth. From that touch of Lord Varaha, the earth, Bhaumasura was born. So he was actually the son of Lord Varaha and the earth. So, but he became corrupted by bad association, and that'll be explained in the next verse with Bhaumasura. And so, but anyway, Bhaumasura had gone to the heavens and stolen different things from the heavens. Stolen one beautiful place where the demigods like to go on like pleasure excursions. And he'd stolen that whole area and just took it over. And then not only that, he'd taken things from different rishis and different demigods, and he'd taken the earrings, very valuable earrings, from Indra's mother, Aditi. So he'd taken these. So they all came and complained to Krishna that Bhaumasura. So Krishna had defeated Bhaumasura, and then he was taking the earrings and other possessions back to the heavenly planets to give to Indra. So here it's explained by Prabhupada that the Lord once went to the heavenly planets to present the earring to Aditi. So that's a little bit of the background information what went on there. And Satyabhama also went with him. Now, interesting story here. One time Narad Muni came from the heavenly planets and presented a different version of the story according to the different Puranas, maybe in different times when Krishna appeared. Narad Muni played a bit more mischief in one story that's told, and that he brought the heavenly flower that only grows in the heavenly planets. Now, this Parijata flower came out from the churning of the ocean when the Devas and the Asuras churned the ocean of milk. Many things came out of there, and one was this amazing flower. It's a Parijata flower. And interestingly enough, I remember a story some time ago where the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, he came to a function and planted a Parijata tree at a Ram Mandir. And I kind of crossed my mind. I remember reading how he went to the Ram Mandir and a big ceremony there, and he planted a Parijata. So the Parijata, in modern terms, is a jasmine tree. But it's a special jasmine tree. It's a night jasmine, which only blooms at night time. And actually it's mentioned that one offers the flower, that particular flower, when after it's fallen. You don't pick it. It's after it's fallen, you offer it in that way. And there's all supposed to be all these sorts of miraculous effects when you worship with the Parijata flower. So anyway, in the modern context, but it was there in the heavenly planets, come from the churning of the ocean of milk. And so Indra took possession of that. When his wife Sachi saw it, she wanted it. And so he took possession of it and planted it in the courtyard of her palace. So it was only there in the heavenly planets, only possessed by Indra and by Sachi, his wife, and it was in her courtyard. So that's the only place it was. And so, one time Narad Muni came and presented Krishna with this flower from the heavenly planets. Another story is that he presented it to Rukmini because he had some mischief in mind, that he wanted to make Satyabhama jealous because he thought Indra needed to have his pride curtailed. This is another more elaborate story, that he presented it to Rukmini. Our story is presented it to Krishna, and then Krishna gave it to Rukmini. Now then it is mentioned that Narad Muni went to Satyabhama and said that, he gave the flower to Krishna, just see which one of his wives he gave it to. And he gave it to Rukmini. And then when she heard about that, a little bit of jealousy came up. And said, well, how come she's getting that flower and I'm not getting anything? So then she said something to Krishna. And then so Krishna said, well, why a flower? I'll bring you the whole tree. So that's where he went to the heavenly planets and gave back the earrings to Indra's mother and other things there. The demigods had prayed to him. He did all that. Indra was very grateful. He bowed down to Krishna and was very happy. So, but on the way out, Satyabhama wanted that parijata. And so he went there and just took the whole tree. And he didn't say anything to anyone, he just took it. So, and here the story is told that Indra, when Sachi saw that Krishna had done it and given it to Satyabhama, he went, and along with, apparently Indra has many wives also, and along with other wives, and complained very bitterly to her husband. How dare she go? How dare Krishna come here without even asking and just take this tree and do as he pleases? Now, just before, they were so grateful that Krishna came there and returned his mother's ear. Just before, he just did it. Then she complained to him. Now here, Indra, it didn't really come to his mind, but anyway, he was being pushed. And the word used here is henpecked, yes, henpecked. I found an interesting term, isn't it? Henpecked. Kridamuga. Henpecked. I don't know where it came from. It came from somewhere, but when a henpecked, when you see the hens, that's how they eat. Continuously. It's pretty, so he was like, must have been that they were going on with it. They wouldn't let it go. Maybe, possibly, Indra didn't think much of it, but the thing was, she wouldn't let it go. He was henpecked. And so, here Prabhupada mentioned now, and then all of a sudden, he became worked up by Sachi and his wives, even though Krishna had just returned the earrings of his mother and he was bowed down and offered prayers to Krishna. Just in a short time later, he had made a decision, Prabhupada said very foolishly, he made the decision to attack Krishna for taking, and he was all worked up by his wife. How dare he? Who does he think he is? So this was all kind of like in Narad Muni's mind. Krishna had thought every now and again he has to curb the pride of Indra and other devas, so he took the opportunity. Now here Prabhupada actually comments that of course Indra, he says Indra's wives inspired him because he was a henpecked husband and also a fool. So one thing is you're henpecked, but if you lose your discrimination in being impelled to take action, if you lose your discrimination, quite often emotions take precedence over discrimination. That's quite generally the fact, especially with women and also men. You get very emotional, and your emotions just override everything. And so Indra, overcome by this inspiration by his wives, went and attacked. And so therefore Prabhupada terms him as a fool. And he dared to fight with Krishna. He was a fool on this occasion because, why? Because he forgot everything belongs to Krishna anyway. So everything is Krishna's property. So if Krishna wants to take something, if you're living in someone's house and they just come along, maybe you were out, but there's something in the house, there's a cupboard, and they come in the house and they just kind of take it. Maybe it's outside somewhere and they just come along and take it. Well, it's theirs, they own it. So you're going to get so upset about that? So this is the point Prabhupada made. Krishna is the proprietor of everything. He can do it. Maybe the etiquette should have been, they should have said something first, but in this case, Krishna decided not to say anything first. And maybe his intention was to start something up, and then he wanted to curb the pride. So there was no fault on the part of the Lord, even though he took away the tree from the heavenly kingdom. Indra became a fool, and so Indra falsely concluded, well, look, Krishna's taken this and he's been impelled by Satyabhama, and he's the henpecked. So this quite often happens, isn't it? That you're so self-absorbed in your own. You're guilty, or even more guilty, of the same thing you're accusing someone else of. One can get so foolish like that. If someone's a very self-absorbed person, they're doing something that they're accusing everyone else. But they're not even saying they're doing it themselves. So Indra, being henpecked and being impelled by his wife to do this thing which was wrong, he lost his discrimination and he attacked Krishna. But he was thinking that Krishna's the one who's subjugated by Satyabhama. And he's the one who's become a fool, being subordinated by the will of Satyabhama. He's the one. And quite angry, quite often we see within his arguments, oh, you're just a miser and a fool. No, you're the miser and the fool. You're stupid. No, you're stupid. I know kids go like that. You see with the kids, you're really stupid. No, you're the one that's really stupid. And then they argue, it builds up more. So Indra thought like that Krishna was the one. So this was very foolish. So we become blinded by too much anger or greed or whatever it is. So by these emotions that blind our actual intelligence. He would, and so quickly, Indra, he's a base, thank you very much. He brought the earrings back, and then the next moment he's attacking Krishna with his weapons and everything like that. So one has to be careful. So that's the lesson I think you could say from this. One has to be careful. And then Prabhupada goes on finally to say, and he explains what Krishna's actual position. One could conclude like that. Well, Satyabhama wanted that parijata, and so she was pushing on Krishna. And so Krishna, just like everybody else, like a husband, just surrendered to the will of his wife and just did this kind of foolish thing. So one might think like that, but Prabhupada explains it. No, he wasn't attached to his wife because she was a very beautiful wife, a very beautiful woman, and he wanted to keep her happy. If he didn't do this, he'd maybe never hear the end of it. More of this kind of would go on. So if you know what's good for you, you better just do it. That's probably the lesser of the disturbance than a continuous this. So maybe he concluded like that. But Krishna's not like that. He wasn't subjugated. And then the Prabhupada makes the point that Krishna has unlimited beautiful wives, unlimited Lakshmis are there. He married 16,000. Satyabhama, he was reciprocating with her because of her devotion. So this is the point, that he was pleased with her devotional service and he wanted to reciprocate the unalloyed devotion of his devotee. So Krishna is very kind, he likes to reciprocate, and one should not think that, where was that we were reading that, was it in one of the previous verses, that Krishna's ungrateful, he's an ingrate. We do everything for him and he just doesn't care, he does nothing for us. Krishna's noticing everything and he will do such nice things for you. It may be a bit mixed according to what your consciousness is. Krishna does things in his own time, but ultimately he's thinking for the upliftment and benefit of everyone. So Krishna is noticing everything. And he is not ungrateful, just like some people can get so many things from others and not even acknowledge it. An ingrate. They're called an ingrate. They've got so many things, they're just not grateful for it. They just become to expect it. If you didn't do it, they ask, why didn't you do it? So we can become like that too. So that's an ingrate. And that's all compelled by the modes of nature, especially mode of ignorance. Mode of ignorance, especially, a little bit mode of passion, motive in your ignorance, one of the symptoms is you become ungrateful. You just expect things. You expect so many things, and be self-absorbed, everything for you, and you don't care if anyone gets anything else, as long as it comes to you. And if it doesn't come to you, you get very upset. Ungrateful. The Krishna's not like that. He reciprocates so much. So in this instance, we find that how Krishna is reciprocating to such a bhava. So Prabhupada very kindly explained it nicely, so we don't ourselves as devotees get the wrong idea what to speak of outsiders who don't understand about Krishna and all these amazing pastimes. So therefore, very kindly, Prabhupada has explained that he's taken from the explanation given by other acharyas, very kindly. More is there in the 10th canto, different acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami and others give their explanation so we have a more clearer understanding, lest we, as I said, we ourselves become confused about the situation, or especially outsiders. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I'll just read these verses again. By subduing 7 bulls whose noses were not pierced, the Lord achieved the hand of Princess Nagmajiti in the open competition selecting bridegroom. Although the Lord was victorious, his competitors asked the hand of the princess, and thus there was a fight. Well equipped with weapons, the Lord killed or wounded all of them, but he himself was not hurt. Just to please his dear wife, the Lord brought back the Parijata tree from heaven, just as an ordinary husband would do. But Indra, the king of heaven, induced by his wives, henpecked as he was, ran after the Lord with full force to fight him. Any question or comment? Yes, Rick.
Maharaj, so Prabhupada was saying that generally people who are dominated by their wives are considered foolish. So in a relationship like as grihastas, it seems like quite often we might say that the woman is the centre of the house, or she wears the pants, and the man may need to many times to keep the peace, just do what she says, and I agree with that. So does that mean we're henpecked, or what is it? How do we consider that we're dominated and henpecked by the wife? A lot of the time we're just trying to keep the peace.
Well, if the man's a fool beforehand, probably better he's dominated by his wife. The wife's intelligent and Krishna conscious, and he's a fool, better to be dominated by his wife. The fact that the real principle here is, what is the Krishna conscious thing to do? So if the wife is at you all the time, but what she's saying is actually very Krishna conscious, then follow it. But if what she's at you all the time is not Krishna conscious, and it's same vice versa, the man and the woman, is at her, it's not Krishna conscious, then you have to use your discrimination. Don't let the atmosphere of the situation overwhelm you, you lose your intelligence of what the right thing to do is, and what the Krishna conscious right thing to do is. And so whoever is dominating, whether the man is dominating, or whether the woman is dominating, or whether they're just coexisting equally, or whatever, it's all different for every grihastha situation, isn't there? So many different varieties of it. But the main principle, what is the Krishna consciousness is. So someone can be going all the time about this, someone on the other side going, and or the both of them together come to a conclusion, but is it Krishna conscious? So that you have to ascertain. So in this instance, now Prabhupada does say, in this instance, on this occasion, Indra was a fool. It doesn't use it in more general. Indra is just a fool, in a general sense. Indra's the king of heaven. He's not a fool. But on this occasion, he was a fool because he was too influenced by his wives. And in this instance, you could say he was henpecked. Yes, one final.
It's a funny story with Tanja's went to Prabhupada to complain about his wife Indira, and he said, "Well, my wife never does anything I say." And he was expecting Prabhupada would back him, and then he could go to Indira and say, "Well, Prabhupada said you should do what it said." And then Prabhupada was, quiet for a minute. He said, "Well, actually, your wife is more intelligent than you. Why don't you try doing what she says for a change?"
That's a good one. Good story. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.